Are you there? No, just kidding. I think I did it all. I think so. Linda?
Hello?
Hi.
I just saw, where do I get rid of that video? Dadgummit.
Almost saw your face.
There it is. There.
There you are.
Are you leaving, cat? I have my cat here sitting right here by me. And he won't move.
You won't move.
Move.
I'm here. We'll be in the meeting with you.
Don't touch that. Nope.
Hey, Mindy, do you want to make me co-host?
Sure. Sure will.
Why don't you just lay there?
Hello, Miss Linda. How's your
Hi.
leg?
Monday I get to start walking on the boot.
Good.
I don't like that little scooter.
Yeah, Randy was telling me earlier that you only had like a week left on it. So
A week left and then 2 weeks of just walking in it.
well, you're almost there.
Yeah. At least there's nothing else to do.
Yeah.
True.
Great
You're
time
not,
to
you're not
do it.
missing out on anything.
Can't go
Yeah.
on a trip. Okay.
It shows you're still connecting, Miss Mackey. Give it just a second.
You there, Susan?
Tap on the screen, Miss Susan, and it should pop up at the bottom left, join audio.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, ma'am.
Hello, Johnny.
Well, of course,
There
you are now. Thank you. Bye-bye. Okay.
Miss Allen, did you get that paperwork okay this morning? Perfect.
Yes, I did. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
That may be Miss Davila.
Oh, okay.
We'll find out here in a second.
What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? Is that in your way? Is that in your way? No, don't bite it. Don't.
Mandy, is Gunderson or
I just checked on them. They said they're still trying to log on. Yeah,
Okay.
they're still Yeah, they're still trying to get on, both him and Susan.
Is it the internet?
I'm thinking so. He says it should be connecting to your meeting in a minute is what it said.
All right.
Oh, there's Gunderson. There's Gunderson. And there's Susan.
Hey, Mindy,
Yeah,
I'm having Morgan run over two Wi-Fi.
they
hotspots.
both just entered in, just so you know.
Oh, okay, perfect.
But I'm using my personal hotspot. I couldn't get this other one to work.
I'm wondering, we'll talk about it later. I'm thinking Doug may have switched the internet back over or something. There's no reason why it should give you that much trouble.
Yeah.
Greg, it's been like this for the last 3 meetings. So we definitely got an issue here. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and call the meeting to order. Let me read our little disclaimer here. This is for the special meeting budget workshop for Tuesday, July 21st, 2020. Some members of the city council may participate via telephone or video conference. A quorum may or may not be physically present in the city council chambers. Texas Government Code 551.127A-2.
Gotcha.
Citizens wishing to make comments should email mparks@evermantx.net, mparks@evermantx.net. Citizens' comments received prior to the meeting adjourned will be read to the council. So we will drop down to item 2. It's the continuation of the budget workshop.
All right. I just wanted to start this evening. I had a couple of questions regarding employee raises. And I just want to remind everyone that we're not going to get into specifics regarding any personal employee information. However, with that being said, the question was regarding the percentage for the employee raise amount. And just a reminder that this is that you all are approving a dollar amount, not necessarily a percentage per department. Now, on average, Mr. Gunderson has included 5% as the raise amount. That's an average, and it's not a set amount for each individual.
Susan, can I make a comment here?
Yes, please.
Actually, I believe the last several years we have passed 5% across the board pay increases for everyone. And
Okay.
so what you just said is contra to what we've been doing. Everybody's getting 5%.
Susan, that is
Yeah.
not what was passed. You passed a merit increase. Merit increase by definition is if they merit an increase, they get an increase. It's up to the director to determine with a guideline of 5% whether they get less or a little more.
They shouldn't get more. We've done 5% across the board. And that's what we budgeted.
You don't budget individual increases.
Right. We budgeted across the board.
You budget an amount by department based on 5% of the salaries in those departments. If we have an overachiever, we can give them more. If we have an underachiever, we can give them less.
That's
how I've
never-
always done it.
That's never been put that way before. It's always been a 5% raise.
Across the board every single year.
Right.
Well, if that's your perception, I'm sorry, but that's not how it's being administered.
We know that and we object to that. We have voted for the last several years, 5% across the board.
Well, that's fine. If you want to make that an ordinance, go right ahead. Do not call it a merit increase.
Pay increase, 5% across the board.
If you want to vote for that, you can do that.
Thank you. Thank you, Susan.
You're welcome.
What is the difference, Mr. Gunderson?
The difference is you don't pay a 5% increase to someone who is not performing up to expectations. That's why it's called merit. Merit means you earned an increase. Some people don't. And some people achieve beyond the standard. And that's why they're given a little bit more than 5%.
Actually, it's never been, to be honest, it's never been explained that way.
Well,
As long as I've been here, it's never been explained that way.
It's been considered an across the board pay raise increase for everyone. Sometimes it's only 3% because that's all we had in the budget or that's all we had in the revenues of tax money, et cetera, to offer. But we gave everybody the 3%. And we've been able the last 2 or 3 years to bump it up to 5%. And everybody across the board would get their 5%.
So more like a
as I-
cost of living raise.
Correct. Maybe we should change the name to cost of living instead of merit. Because they still get taxed on it and everything.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, cost of living, you automatically get cost of living, don't you?
Oh, we have to vote it in.
It's always been just a merit raise.
That's what we've called it, but it's actually been a cost of living.
And so what would you suggest for those who excel?
Find it in that department's budget to redistribute, reallocate funds.
And what would we call it?
That's a good question.
I think you would call it a merit increase.
Well, we could call it a merit increase.
Let me tell you, in the 6 years I've been here and been finance director, we have never, ever applied the merit increase across the board as a cost of living increase.
Then the city council has not been made aware of that because when we vote for 5% across the board, we expect everyone to get 5%. Because
Can I interject here real quick? I just want to read what the city personnel manual says that that council has approved, and I'm just reading it from the manual so everybody's on the same page. Section 10.04 talks about use of evaluation results. It states the results of employee evaluations shall be considered for the following purposes: 1, in making salary adjustments; 2, in giving special merit increase to an employee for outstanding performance as recommended by the department head and approved by the city manager; and 3, in determining whether disciplinary action is warranted against an employee. So if we're going to change this, if you want to change it from a merit increase, like what's defined by the personnel policy, to a cost of living increase, we probably need to change that in our personnel manual, because that is how the personnel manual defines it right now.
thank you, Chief. Okay, council, what do you want to do?
Well, that's not on the agenda to make a change like this.
No, 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 I don't mean the personnel manual. I mean, do we want everybody to have the 5% or what? Because that's what we've budgeted. And it
Well,
looks
tell me-
like, it looks like some people get 1.3 or 1.7. Some people get 7, some people get 0, some people get, you know, the numbers are vastly different.
So are the performances, Susan.
I think we should go with the 5%.
I agree.
Better change the policy manual.
Check. Okay, Susan, we're going to turn it back over to you.
Okay. One last item that I wanted to bring up before we get into the expenditures was last meeting, there was talk about the insurance amount, and we have calculated at 5%, but there was some talk of 10%. I just wanted to get clarification on that, whether we needed to change anything or how you guys would like that to read.
Okay, Susan, please refresh my memory. I'm having trouble remembering what we're talking about.
The insurance costs, we budgeted a 5% increase.
Oh,
in-
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And so
So there was talk of 10%. So I just wanted to clarify.
okay,
that.
just in case it goes up more than we're expecting.
Yes.
Okay. Do we have any idea if how far up it might be going?
The last I heard from the broker,
Yes.
I believe it was around 10%. Yes. 10 between 10 and 13%.
Okay.
And keep in mind that the first 3 months of the fiscal year, it will be at this year's rate. The rate does not go up until January 1 if there is an
Right.
increase.
Yeah,
Right.
it's based on calendar year.
But
So
that
for-
means we won't have good numbers until December.
Right.
So
Maybe we should consider the 10% just so we're not in shell shock when we get how much it really goes up.
Right, yeah.
that's with the understanding it could go up a little bit higher than that. So
Yes, yes.
if it does go up to
Yeah.
13 or, we won't know until December. So, I mean, I'm in agreement with that. We need to go ahead and go up to 10%.
Yeah, rather be safe than
Yes.
sorry.
Yes, yes, I agree.
We will adjust those numbers. Okay. All right. So we can begin with the expenditures, and the top page that I sent was just an overview of the changes that we put in for the budget based on last year's numbers. There were a few changes that needed to be made. Are there any questions on the front of that page? Or are you ready to go by department?
Let's go. No, Johnny, did you have any questions? We're just looking at that top page.
I noticed on park maintenance supplies, it's almost it's double. Correct? Is that right? Or was it, okay, it says the fiscal year amount for 2020 was 17,000 and the fiscal year 21 is 35. Does that mean it's increased? It's doubling?
Hey, Johnny, if you look at the year-to-date actual, we're actually at 34,715.
Right. That's
So
what
they're
she
just
said.
budgeting what we've already spent for this year.
Yes. That's why
Okay.
that's why they're requesting a higher budget amount for next year, because they've already spent that much this year.
So what was budgeted for last year?
The 17,272,
Okay, so we're doubling it.
basically, yes, to 35,000. Correct.
So my question is about that. what did we spend extra money on this year that we're also going to spend that extra 17 next year? I see it says cost of chemicals and replacement parts, but for what?
Yeah, we hadn't used the water thing that much this year, have we?
Because it's been broken.
Splash pad, yeah.
There have been, that is correct.
Right. So therefore, we shouldn't have that many supplies, correct?
Well, but we're paying to have it fixed as well.
If
You
I can
haven't
add,
used. Okay, I'm sorry.
no, you're fine. If I can add, so according to Jeff, the splash pad was never constructed appropriately. The tank was never put into the ground appropriately. And we are now paying for that in the long run by constant repairs. We have eroding soil that constantly occurs around there. The tank is collapsed. We've had plumbing that's collapsed. Pretty much the whole thing needs to be replaced. But rather than coming to council and asking to replace it all at once, we're replacing it part by part throughout the budget. And that's why we've had such a significant increase. Otherwise, that splash pad is going to be worthless and it's just going to have to sit.
Correct. But didn't they get $40,000 from EDC to repair that?
And that repaired part of it. That repaired the pump. But after that repair, now the tank has collapsed, and now we've had some other issues that have come up that we're having to pull money out of budget for to correct. The plumbers that are working on this now have said the initial plumbers that did the install did a horrible job. It wasn't the right equipment. It wasn't the right piping that was supposed to be put in the ground. So nothing was done correctly when that splash pad was installed, and now we're trying to pay for it after the fact. If it makes you feel any better, Kennedale is having the same problem. They contracted with the same company we did, and they're having the identical problem that we're having with the same splash pad.
But I don't know if you're aware of this, but Everman put part of that together because we were having problems out of it when we first got it. And so instead of telling them to pull it up and replace it, we told them that we'd repair it, we'd fix it ourselves, and we paid them what we owed them. So I mean, part of that is Everman's problem.
Right. Yeah, we're not arguing that. It was, I don't think it was 100% on the plumbers, but we're just at a point now where we're in a bind. We're spending double the money we normally would to keep that splash pad in service. And we're having to get another outside company, Sanders Plumbing, to come in here and take care of that for us.
So are we eventually going to be able to get this thing fixed so that it runs properly and we don't have to keep making such major repairs?
That is the goal. But anytime that you run anything that's water related like that, I mean, we're going to have pumps go out. We're going to have chemical needs. We're going to have issues with it ongoing. Hopefully we can limit this budget once we get some of the major repairs done. But right now, Jeff is indicating it's in pretty significant disrepair.
Okay, what was the price for purchasing that? Do you know?
Donnie, we'd have to dig up the numbers on that. You're talking something that happened 6-7 years ago.
Yeah, but I know, but I'm saying if it had been done right in the first place, we wouldn't be replacing it right now.
Correct.
But what I'm saying to you is we don't have the numbers in front of us. I'd have to dig those numbers up.
And I think I see where you're going. We have already looked at the avenue of trying to get a hold of the original company that put it in to see if we could get anything taken care of on that avenue. That company is out of service. They no longer exist.
Out of business.
Yep.
Was there any inspections on the process when they were putting this together?
Linda, I can answer that. And it was no, because our city manager at the time advised Jeff and them not to get involved. They were told to let Jim do his thing. So
let me correct you on that, because I talked to Michael Box when they were doing that, and
Michael Box is not city manager, Johnny.
And so what now,
Johnny? Michael Box was not city manager at that time.
Like I said, I talked to Michael Box when they were installing that, and that we were having problems. And so I think we owed $25,000 on it at the time. And so I was like, is that not a lemon law? Can we just not have them pull it out and replace it with a brand new one? And he said, well, what we've decided to do is to just pay them what we owe them and fix it ourselves.
And that may have been what happened then. I'm not arguing that. I'm saying recently we've tried to reach out to that company to see if we could get something taken care of there, but that company's no longer in business. So we're stuck with it, unfortunately.
Well, the bottom line is if we want it fixed, then we have to spend the money.
Yes.
So if we do, then we do. So.
Oh, okay.
Susan, let's move on with the budget, please.
Yep. Okay, let's start with general fund. The first page 1. And as you can see on this page, the top portion is the salaries and benefits that we've already discussed previously, but the bottom half is just the regular expenditures. And there, on this particular page, there were 0 changes to the budget amounts. They will remain the same.
Except for insurance.
Well, yeah, yes, except for the top half. Correct. Just the other expenditures.
Okay.
So moving on then.
On computer program and maintenance, it's
Yes,
$20,000. Okay, what is that for?
Johnny's still on the first page.
Yes, she's on the first page, correct?
No, we're on the other page.
we're on the budget first page.
General fund.
We're on the administration.
The
Let
second,
me suggest something here. On the left-hand side of the page, there's the fund name and then there's the department. It's a 4-digit number.
Okay.
So if you pay attention to what department we're looking at, the first page is the administrative department. That's the city manager department. Okay? That's got 1,100 by it.
Yep.
The next one is the city secretary. So if we refer to the appropriate department as we go through this, it'll be a lot easier.
Thank you.
And Ms. Allen, to answer your question on the computer program, we're going to get into the PD budget here in just a minute. I can probably address that question for you there, but that's going to be police department related.
Thank you.
yeah, because the 6402 line item on page 1, computer program and maintenance says $0. But like Johnny said, it was 6402 on this cover page.
Yes, and that's part of the police budget. So
Okay, yes. So that we'll get there then.
we'll get there. Yeah,
Okay.
that's actually a reduction. So,
So
okay,
we're with administration.
yes. So we have same budget amounts for the general fund, 1,100.
Okay.
So page 2 of this expenditure budget is the city secretary portion. And again, it reflects 0 changes to the budgeted amounts.
Okay.
Do we need to take a look, Susan, at the election expense? We don't have an election next year, right?
2021. No,
Well, I think the way they have it now is where you can vote anywhere. So we'll probably have to open up every time there's an election, wouldn't we?
yeah, but
We only have to pay if we have something on the ballot.
Ah.
So we shouldn't have anything unless we do some type of something that we have to put before the voters. Correct, Mindy?
Yes, correct.
So are we suggesting that we take that off for this budget?
Susan, I think Mindy and you need to get together and talk about, we may have some minor expense in
Okay.
the November election, but I don't think we're going to have $11,000.
Okay.
Okay.
It is high, yeah. Okay. I have a note. I'll get with Mindy.
And like we discussed last time, there's no salary increase on this page. So we need to consider something. We can do that later.
Well, that's a discussion we need to have at a later date, Susan.
What I said.
Okay. We got some other issues we got to address with that, so.
All right. So if there are no other questions, then we'll move to page 3, which is 1102, which is the finance portion. And I believe the only increase on this expenditure line item is the audit expense. And that went from 60,000 to 70,000.
Why did it go up so much?
Susan, we've got the auditors working on assisting us in our lease accounting and a couple of other regulatory issues beyond the audit. And we expect that to cost us a little bit more money.
Okay, thank you. Extra stuff.
Yeah, we have some new regulations coming up, so we want to make sure that we're reporting correctly. So the page 4, 1103, which is the city council. Now, I do want to make a comment on this one before somebody realizes the mistake here. The council pay line was not updated. So that's the 4th line down. It says 4,800. That actually is 13,200. We will.
And that's directly related to the changes made last November where the
Charter.
council pay was increased.
Effective October 1st.
And when does that start?
October 1st.
Okay.
So we'll get that number updated, but I just wanted to make sure you saw that. But other than that, no changes to the expenditures here.
And for those of you who are looking online, you will see it updated already.
Okay. Okay, page 5. It's 1,200, which is street.
Oh,
And there are no changes to these budgeted amounts.
Okay, on the street repair supplies,
Mhm.
only $300?
All of the significant street repairs
Uh-huh,
are being paid out of the street fund.
okay, all right.
That's where we're,
I think I remember you talking about that before.
right. The budget.
This
for
is
that
more like, go ahead.
Yeah, this is just minor supplies.
And what do we use the miscellaneous for then? I mean,
that's a good question.
wouldn't they be like combined for that? I don't know, does there? If it's just for minor, what's the miscellaneous for? Minor too, or?
Miscellaneous is just that, some unanticipated amount
What?
that's not related to a line item that we already have.
Kind of like a contingency fund. If these guys pull up and suddenly they've got a bunch of tools that go out and they got to run up last minute and pick them up, that's what that miscellaneous item's for. It's almost like a contingency or something that wouldn't normally be expected.
Okay.
Yeah, but supplies would be tools also, So if you run out of $300, you can go to miscellaneous.
Excuse me.
Well, I believe also that the street repair supplies could also be like office supplies related to the repairs as well. So it's just smaller dollar items, I guess.
Okay.
They have not used that. They have not used that account, this line item this year yet. So
Miscellaneous?
no, the street repair supplies, they've used 0 of that so far this fiscal year.
And the minor equipment, that would be like what? Like just tools or something?
Right.
Mhm.
Okay.
What does employee uniforms cover? What all does that cover?
We actually issue uniforms to our public works people, and they have to be cleaned, and we pay for that. And
Oh, so we pay for cleaning.
yeah, for the uniforms and
Okay.
repairs and replacement.
Okay.
Okay, if nothing else, page 6 is 1,300, which is the parks. There are a couple changes here. The one that we've already discussed, the maintenance supplies going up to 35,000.
Yes.
And also increasing the capital expenditure line. They need to replace the 2 lawn mowers. All other line items are to remain the same.
What is improvements for?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. $100.
That's going to be like the flowers and plants and that kind of stuff, the beautification type stuff that they use.
Okay.
Okay.
Just $100?
Yeah, that's not very much, but
Well, you can see how much we spent this year so far.
I know,
Yeah.
we're just racking that one up.
because I think it's getting charged to maintenance supplies.
There you go.
So
What is abatement supplies dangerous building?
That's if we have to declare a building uninhabitable and we have to tear it down, and there are supplies and stuff where we have to get to do that.
Do we need to possibly increase the contract labor that's for like summer help?
that's a good question.
Well, I mean, right now we're 3/4 of the way through the year and we're sitting at $1,000. So we have not overspent that particular line item.
And I do know that the lawnmowers, the 2 lawnmowers that we have received quotes on are larger than the current lawnmowers. So it will take them less time to mow, hopefully, less time to mow all of the parks and stuff. So perhaps that will mean less additional help, such as contract labor.
Okay, and so what does park maintenance supplies cover?
Part of that's rebuilding the splash pad, I think.
Yes, that's what we already discussed about the 35,000.
No,
I
that
think
was
with-
That was back on another page, wasn't it?
Yes, but it is referring to this line item.
Okay, all right.
And I think with parks, a lot of their materials fall within this category. So whether it's chemicals or actual supplies, materials, a lot of it falls within that category. Any other questions with parks?
Nope.
Okay. Page 7 is the 1400 is the police department. And we have a few changes here, not really anything too significant. On this sheet, the utilities telephone, about halfway down, we have increased that by 6,000. But if you read the explanation on the first page, we are going to be adding an additional line item for communications. So that 6,000 will then be moved to that line item once it's created in STW. So.
And that $6,000 increase, just to provide clarification, the communications is radio communications, not for telephone. But that's, if you recall, last year I brought a request to participate with the City of Fort Worth radio service to enhance our radio capabilities and eliminate us from having to maintain our own radio repeaters and everything. And that's that $6,000 annual cost for the police department to do that. It came in after we approved budget last year. That's why it wasn't in last year's budget. We brought the request in after the fact, but we're including it this year in this budget.
So every year it'll be a $6,000 charge to use Fort Worth's
Radio system, yes, ma'am.
system. Okay, okay.
I have a question for Craig.
And then
I had talked to you about trying to find something in the budget for the police fire for mental health evaluation to be done possibly every year.
Yes, and I've got good news. I've got it for free.
Oh.
And they're actually here in the other room meeting. We've reached out and we've coupled up, which I want to get them in front of you guys at some point in time. But we've reached out to Christian Ministries, and they are actually providing our chaplain services. And they don't just provide chaplaincy services; they also provide critical incident stress debriefing for police and fire. And there's actually 5 of them sitting in the other room with some of our police officers right now, just introducing themselves and visiting. So it's a great program for us, and I'll get you guys all the details on it.
Wonderful. Great. Thank you.
Yes,
Did we discuss something about the mental health part some months ago with some of the programs we were discussing?
probably LifeWorks. We've talked about LifeWorks a few times,
Right.
which is a benefit that's afforded to all the employees. It's a counseling service essentially. Jennifer is adamant about making sure the employees are very aware of it and have that at their disposal if they need it. So that is currently available to the employees as a part of our benefit package.
What is grant purchase?
That's simply to offset every year. It's hard to predict what grants we're going to get approved and don't get approved. Every year we get a certain number of grants that are almost always approved, like our Tarrant County 911 grants. But with the accounting, we've got to be able to try to budget the expense versus the revenue. So essentially that's just a track. As you can see, this year we didn't get quite as many grants as we did last year. We're just trying to guesstimate how much we think we'll get approved for this coming budget year. So it kind of fluctuates up and down, but all of those we get full reimbursement for on the grant line items.
Okay, now you mentioned that from the other departments, the computer program and maintenance would be up under police.
Yes, that's what
yes.
So we were just talking about. We're going to lower the computer program and maintenance budget for this current fiscal year was set at $22,500. Right after the budget got approved, I got word from IT that Windows 7, I believe it was no longer going to be supported after January.
And they're wet.
And I think we brought it to council and kind of let you aware of that. But about 15 of my computers within the police department were Windows 7. So we had to replace all of those computers, and that has thrown us significantly over budget this year. This next year, I don't anticipate having those issues. What we've done now is we've worked out a deal with Doug that we have all of our computers on a regularly scheduled replacement program. So we're going to buy a certain number of computers every budget year to make sure that we're not getting hit all at once with a whole bunch of computer purchases. So we spent 34,000 in that line item this year, but I don't see any reason why we need to have the 22,500 altogether. We can lower that line item down to 20,000. That'll cover our $15,000 program fee and give us $5,000 for computers that we'll need this next year.
And just so you know, that was not unique to PD. City Hall had the same issues, and we're pushing the budget on computer programs and maintenance because of that in virtually every City Hall related department as well.
Right, because I saw up under finance, it was 32,000.
Yep.
Yeah, it was kind of just a unique year for us since Windows 7 announced that after January, they were no longer going to be able to support that software. We had to replace all of our computers that had Windows 7. And unfortunately, the overwhelming majority of our computers were Windows 7.
Okay, now with the money that we're getting from the COVID, does that cover some part of the computers or something?
To some extent, if it is related to working remotely, yes. So like the Chromebooks that you all have been issued, that was covered by CARES Act. There's a few city employees that have been issued laptops and the ability to work from home. Those computers are covered. It will not cover the purchase of any computer inside the building, but it does cover remote capabilities.
Okay.
And that's another thing to keep in mind too, is that we're going to have overages. Some of these overages that you're going to see, particularly in police, fire, and I believe finance, some of those computer overages are due to COVID. For example, the Chromebooks that we had to purchase to issue to all the council members, those have to be allocated somewhere within the budget. So it's going to make it appear as though we go over. But at the end of the year, we'll have a budget amendment to come in to show you the leveling out because of the CARES Act funds that we have. So everything we spend still gets allocated here, but we're going to have that $346,000 coming in from CARES Act that'll offset that.
Okay.
So according to the finance page, 4.3 finance, the computer program and maintenance last year was 32,000 and this year is 32,000. And are you saying that's going to be 32,000 from here on out?
Well, now keep in mind that finance is just 2 people. So it's only 2 computers involved. So you're not going to see a big impact from that. Most of what you're looking at is the cost of our accounting system. We pay.
Oh, that's the STW contract.
Yes,
Right.
yes. Okay.
So that will go up slightly every year.
Okay.
Just because that's what happens. But I don't expect it to be significantly impacted by anything other than normal incremental increase.
Gotcha. Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah. And like Chief said, part of that amount of that 28,000 will also be offset by the COVID expense because there's a couple of Chromebooks charged to that. And so that's not all computer expense, it's the program.
Okay. That's just the line item you're putting it on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, back to police. So we're reducing that and adding the line item for the communications. And then his minor equipment changed slightly from 4,500 up to 5,000. So just a slight increase there.
On the SRO expenses incurred, is that reimbursed from the school also?
Yes.
That's 100%.
Yes,
Okay, that's what I thought.
that's offset by the revenue.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Okay. Any other police questions?
What's the notification system?
That's our telephone CTY system, the phone
Okay.
calls that go out.
Okay, yeah. All right.
Okay, now, on the automobiles that are leased for the police department, is that up under police or what is that up under?
That is
We're
under
about to
crime.
discuss that as we approach Department 1500. I think Susan's got some comments on that.
Maintenance garage, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so if you'll turn to page 8, this is maintenance garage, and you'll see the lease payment line item. We have it this year at 145,000. Now, keep in mind, we will be adjusting the lease payment amounts per our discussions with the auditors that we've just had in the last couple of weeks. We've determined exactly how the lease accounting is supposed to be recorded and under the new GASB guidelines. So the the white fleet, the public works fleet, will be expensed through this account, the 1,500, the maintenance. Now, all of the PD vehicles will be charged to crime control, and they will be amortized as assets through that. So within this maintenance department, we will have all of the vehicle maintenance expense, which there's a monthly fee through enterprise included in the lease payment. So that'll be in this department here. The public works lease payments and all gasoline will be used out of this department.
How many vehicles are there in the maintenance?
There are no vehicle. You mean how many are charged to that account?
Yeah, how many are leased?
15 of them.
Chief, do you know how many we have in the white fleet?
Yes, ma'am. There's 15 in the white fleet currently.
Okay, 15.
Okay, I have a question. Are we using all 15?
Yes, we are. Yeah, we are using all 15 of the vehicles. Exactly how that's broken down, I can get with Jeff and Lisa and get a list to you of who they're assigned to, but I do know that all of them are being utilized.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say there is still one vehicle that we're waiting the delivery on, and I don't know if we've started making those lease payments since we haven't accepted the delivery of it.
No.
That's gonna
No.
be the dump truck. Okay.
We don't pay any lease payments until we take possession of the vehicles.
Okay. Yeah, so we're still waiting on the delivery of the one dump truck that's supposed to come in. So right now there's 14 of them with the 15th one coming.
Is there that many people to use that many vehicles?
I asked the same thing, but the answer is yes. We did the math, and there are that many people for all those vehicles. You have to keep in mind that we have the directors themselves. The fire marshal is included in that. He drives one of the white fleet vehicles to be utilized. Code enforcement, parks, streets, water. So there's
Control.
Animal control.
Okay.
Why did we get such large trucks? I mean, just to drive for some people, just to
these
drive.
Yeah, these were the trucks that were recommended by Enterprise for us to get because of the value that they hold. When it comes to the white fleet, we want to get the vehicle that will hold the most value because the plan is to sell those vehicles the next year. So the more valuable it is when we sell it the next year, the more we can roll back into the purchase of or the lease payments for the following year. So that's how the cycle works. And this is the vehicle that, according to the Enterprise experts, said would hold the most value for the longest.
Okay, so we're gonna use it for a year and then turn it in.
On, I think, about 13 of them. There's only a couple of them we're going to hold for 3 or 4 years, and that's the animal control truck, if I remember correctly, and the dump truck. We're going to hold on to those two for a while because they have specialty equipment assigned to them. The rest of the vehicles, they're going to roll over every year. And that's how the lease payments are lowered once we get the ball rolling and we start getting the revenue back on the vehicles we sell off.
And that's why the accounting is different on the public works vehicles versus the PD vehicles, because basically the public works vehicles, well, we only have for the 12 months. And then the PD, we have to amortize over the life of them.
Okay, is all service done by Enterprise?
Not
Yes.
by them, but through their Enterprise fleet management. So they have authorized maintenance dealers throughout the Metroplex. For example, Take 5 Oil is down here in Burleson. They're one of them. That's who, if we have an oil change, we run it down to Take 5. They accept the little Enterprise card, and we wind up paying for that maintenance. We still pay for the maintenance on oil changes and a couple of other things. But if we have like a default battery or air filters, all that's covered within the maintenance program that we pay for as a part of that lease. So some of the maintenance is covered, but oil changes and tires are not.
Yeah, that's consumable.
Yes.
So just to summarize, this particular department, and I noticed, Susan, that we've got building maintenance in there, that needs to be taken out. So make a note of that because we don't have a building.
Yes. 400.
That-
There's building maintenance and vehicle maintenance. What is vehicle maintenance?
No. Well, what the chief just explained is that we pay a maintenance fee under our contract with Enterprise. Those charges will be charged as vehicle maintenance in this department. The oil, gas, and lube line is all the gas expense, the oil change expense, miscellaneous charges for using while we're using the vehicle. All of those, whether it's PD or whether it is the white fleet, will be charged in this department.
So all gas, oil, and lube charges are being put in maintenance garage.
That's correct.
Okay, and that's for the blue and the white fleets.
That is correct.
Yes.
And
Okay, Go ahead.
so is the vehicle maintenance.
Okay, yeah, so the vehicle maintenance, is that just a fee we pay to them? Or do we
Right.
get something out of that?
We
It's a
pay
fee that
$6
we
per
pay.
vehicle
Per
Yeah,
month?
It's a fee.
per
it's a
month.
fee-
Yes, sorry.
A fee that's paid as part of the contract to cover those things that the chief just explained that
Okay.
are not wearable items,
Gotcha,
like bad batteries and things like that. It's covered.
gotcha.
We don't have to pay anything.
Because we've already paid for it.
Right.
Yeah, it's included in the lease payment as a
It's like
separate
an
line
insurance.
item, but yes.
Okay,
So this department will have 3 line items: gas, oil, and lube, vehicle maintenance, and lease payment.
Yeah.
Everything else should be 0.
Yes.
okay.
And the other thing to consider too is you have to consider when we actually received these Enterprise fleet vehicles. I mean, you'll notice that, we've got a couple of overages here and there, but also keep in mind that we haven't been maintaining these lease vehicles. So this next year, I would expect and anticipate that we see significant decrease in the maintenance cost of these vehicles.
Okay.
Yes, but also this 145,000, part of that I need to do an account code adjustment to move that to the crime control. So that,
For the lease.
that number doesn't reflect the actual amount spent out of this department.
Susan, is that for blue and white fleets? You're gonna move that 145,000 to crime control?
No, just the amount for the PD,
Okay,
for the
okay.
blue.
Blue fleet only, okay,
Yes.
okay, thank you.
Mhm. Okay, so I think we've covered that. Let's turn to page 9. That's 1,800, that's fire. And there were a few changes here. The first line item change was the contract labor, and they are reducing that. We like to hear that. They're reducing from 65,000 down to 50,000.
Keep in mind that this is a combination of fire and EMS.
Yes.
Fire and EMS. So the contract labor, what is that for? I'm drawing a blank on that.
That's for the compensation for the volunteers. If you remember, I presented the
Oh.
compensation program to have 2 volunteer firefighters at the station 24/7.
Yes, gotcha.
That covers that. Originally, we anticipated 65,000. We were kind of figuring a little high just to give ourselves a cushion. We're coming in way under budget on that.
Yeah.
Well, we think 50,000 will definitely cover for us, so we can certainly reduce that.
Okay. Thank you. Janitorial supplies. Whoa, janitorial supplies jerked up.
Yeah.
And that's due to COVID. So if you
Yeah.
recall, when all this started, we went out, we bought a ton of masks, a ton of disinfectant, wipes, all kinds of stuff. And anything that we purchase is going to get allocated somewhere in this budget. But that's where the CARES Act comes in and replenishing that for us. So it'll offset.
Excellent.
Yeah. Those will be offset, but yes, we have to account for that in the budget for next year because we don't foresee these expenses ending anytime soon. So, but it will be offset.
Medical went up a little.
Then medical, just an increase of 1,000 on that line. And that's just the cost of supplies going up as well as COVID expenses. And then the janitorial, the cleaning supplies is being combined with janitorial. And that's also part of the reason that it went from 500 to 1,750. Because we're combining the budget amounts there.
Wait, I don't see that.
That,
Right below medical supplies, it goes janitorial supplies, medical supplies, and cleaning supplies.
Uh-huh.
We're going to merge
It's-
cleaning supplies and janitorial supplies.
Cleaning and janitorial. Okay, well, she said 1,700 and I don't see that.
yeah, that's the one that you just said, whoa, that jumped up really high.
For janitorial
Move
supplies.
the comma, I got it.
Yeah, so we're moving the 750 up, basically. We're moving the budget up to
Gotcha.
combine it.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Because it's basically the same thing. So,
Yeah.
What is ESD grant?
The next couple of,
You want me to answer that, Susan?
yeah, go with it, chief.
Okay. Emergency Services District. So every year, we sign an agreement with Tarrant County to provide fire and EMS service to the unincorporated portion of Tarrant County down here. As a part of that, they also provide a $25,000 grant to the fire department to purchase certain equipment. Again, it's 100% reimbursed. It balances out. It's just a grant that they offer for us, and we have to track it within our budget. So they've already told us this next year. They do anticipate for us to have 25,000. We overlooked it when doing the budget this last year, but we want to make sure we include it this coming year because we're going to have to do a budget amendment to fix that this year.
And I
ESD,
might
Go
I
ahead.
might also add that there is a revenue line item also called ESD grants that you will see when we go over revenues that is also 25,000. So it's
Yes.
offsetting.
To offset, yeah.
So ESD is emergency services. What? What's the D?
District.
District.
Thank you, got it. Missed that word.
But one other thing to notice here, the capital expenditure line, we have removed 112,000 from the budget as there are no budgeted capital expenditures for FY21. So that was a significant drop there.
Stopped,
Yes. We'll take it.
especially for the fire department.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Boom. Any other questions with fire?
What is that miscellaneous 11,000?
We wind up buying a lot of miscellaneous stuff for the fire department because we never know what's going to break or what we're going to need with the fire service. It's just inherent that we find equipment that gets broken or we need to get repaired or replaced. We have a running joke that if you think it's indestructible, give it to a fireman, they'll be able to break it. And so, we occasionally have tools that come up, hand tools. And unfortunately with the fire service, anything that says fire department on it is inherently expensive, which is why the miscellaneous line item is so high. A lot of our equipment that has to be replaced, we just don't simply budget for it because it'll break and we have to take care of it. So that's what that miscellaneous line item is typically for.
And
What is
I'm
the
not-
communications that went up to 7,500?
That's a part of the Fort Worth communications agreement, but this is
Oh.
now for the fire side. So the same thing for the police side, we have the same thing for the fire side.
Okay,
The way that Fort Worth does the billing is they bill us per month per radio. So the number of radios we have on the police department versus the number of radios that we have allocated on the fire department, we actually have more radios on the fire department. So that's why it's higher cost than the police department is.
okay.
Okay.
Hey,
All right.
Sue, I'm sorry. I just noticed something while we're on it and I'll forget to tell you later. Can we look at employee uniforms? That line item
Yes,
shows
sir.
0. Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry. There's 2 employee uniforms. Disregard what I said. 6114 and 6200.
So
I-
do we have two?
6,200 and
And two lines up, 6114.
Just so you know, over the past 6 years, I've been trying to get all of the account numbers to line up regardless of department and fund.
Yes.
And we used to use 6114 and we haven't used it in a while, but apparently there's still a record out there that imports, but you notice it's all zeros. 6,200 is the actual employee uniform account now.
yes, and I actually had a note here on my desk regarding this very thing. It was actually in a different department that I needed to move because we actually had hit both accounts. So I am aware of that. So I can make sure we get things all into one account.
Yeah, we need to block them once we do.
Right. Okay, so page 10 is the 1900 community center / annex. And I have no changes to this, to any of the line items on this page.
We need to change that title. We don't really call it the community center anymore.
I can.
Just a thought.
Problem is we call it too many different things.
I know. It's
We need to
multi-purpose.
have a council resolution to name it.
Hey, we can resolution anything.
Okay.
Okay, page 11 is 2400 municipal court. And she just has one line item that increased from 3,100 to 5,000.
Yeah, I'm hoping that's enough. But
Yeah.
obviously now that we are changed
Court of
to
record. Court of record.
Yeah, those expenses probably will be higher, but 5,000 is a start.
Okay.
Okay. Page 12, 2,500, code enforcement. And we have no changes to this budget.
Does code enforcement need assistance?
You know, we made the change this last year with the fire marshal, and he's doing regular inspections. He is actually paired up with Donna, and those two are tackling a bunch. She struggled with being able to do some field work. So fortunately, with the CARES Act and the remote capabilities that we were able to provide for her, she's now able to do more work in the field. She's doing quite a bit. She's producing a very significant volume of work as far as enforcement and things throughout the city. I don't think that, as it stands right now, that there's any reason to look for adding personnel or anything in that area. I think we need to give her a little bit more time and see where she goes from here now that she's got some new capabilities and backup from the fire marshal.
Has she finished giving all the notices about the limbs on the streets?
They have issued a ton. Now, as far as the number, I don't know. It was somewhere in a couple hundred notices that she had issued last time I checked. I'll follow up with her. I don't know if she's gotten them all out. We're not to the point yet where we're interested in issuing citations or anything for those. We still want to try some pub ed, and in talking with the mayor, maybe try to get some opportunities out to help out some of our elderly folks who might qualify for some extra help. But we're definitely still trying to tackle that issue. That's a big ordinance change for a lot of our residents. So we're trying to give them as much time to abide by it as possible.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Greg, you and I will get together and just brainstorm on that, see if we can come up with a solution for those individuals.
Yes, sir.
So see if we can come up with a plan.
Okay, page 13 is 2,600 library.
Yeah.
And I have no changes for this budget.
Do we not need any new books or any more books or anything like that?
I think the budget we've had is sufficient to cover what the needs are. Obed always thinks we need more books, but I'm not sure we have the room for all the books that we have right now. So,
Well, and if you look at what he spent this year, he's only used 532 of that line item. So
Barely a third.
right.
Of course, we've been basically shut down for 5 months, so.
Yeah, that's going to be the other difficult thing to consider is we don't know what's going to happen when the fall comes around in the cooler weather. So we may struggle through this at the beginning of the year as well. They may not have an opportunity to really open up and do a whole lot.
Yeah. Okay. Any questions on library? Okay. Page 14, 2,800. Animal control, and no changes to their amounts.
A quick question on the library. It's got office supplies, $1,500.
What was your question, Johnny?
On the office supplies for the library, it was $1,500.
Yes.
That's what the budget was and is, yes. They're about halfway through that this year.
Okay, then if there are no other questions on that, we'll move to animal control. There were no changes to that either on page 14.
Kind of surprised animal control. They didn't use more on the supplies at $354. I'm like, good gosh, because they were talking about, you know, needing more cages and all this stuff. And, you know,
I don't want to jinx it, but like we mentioned on the Animal Control Advisory Board the other day, they've done a phenomenal job at getting animals in and out.
I know.
So we haven't really, at least in a very short period of time I've been over them, we haven't really had any major expenses going on there. Now, we did go out and buy them some equipment not too long ago, like catch poles and stuff that they needed. If things look good with the budget towards the end of the year and there's any other equipment that they need towards the end of the year and we have some extra money, we might look to go ahead and snag that equipment up before the budget runs out. But I just haven't wanted to do much with it until I get comfortable with how the operations over there are.
Well, I knew they were talking about before needing some more cages, you know, for cats and stuff like that, the feral cats and this and that. And I didn't know if they'd gotten any or not.
Not yet, but they haven't mentioned cages to me, so I'll make a note and find out from them if that's something they need.
We were told that they were shorthanded before, so I don't know. Maybe they got enough now. So that'd be good.
I've got that question down. I'll find out from them.
Okay. All righty.
Those guys are very simple. They like operating with their hands and they don't request much. I like it.
Low maintenance.
Yeah.
Okay, the next page, 15, is moving on to water and sewer fund. And this first page is 3,200. And there's a few changes. The chemical supplies line, just like parks and the others, that has gone up to 12,000. The lines, valves, and fittings, she has increased to 10,000.
The water department has 6 employees in it. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Do you have a line item for contract workers? I mean, for instance, like when it flooded and you needed assistance, how do you go about?
Those would get charged through the professional services.
And do you remember the P word agreement that we brought before council about 6-7 months ago? That's our emergency plan now. We're going to rely on that before relying on contractors to come in if we have another disaster like the flood or the 17 main breaks we suffered a couple years ago.
Right.
We having problems with any of our water meters, the new ones? Are they doing okay?
We have had to replace some.
Really?
They have gotten damaged. I'm not real excited about the plastic bodies anymore.
Oh.
We've had cases where our shifting grounds have torn apart meters. So
Hmm.
we have started buying only brass so that we don't have that same issue.
And our fire hydrants, are they, do we still have some bad ones?
I
We
am
have-
not, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, we have two that are in need of service that I'm aware of, but they are on the radar for this next year to get taken care of. One of those happens to be on the same line that we're doing the TDWB project for. And so that hydrant I know is gonna be replaced when that project comes through and does it all at one time.
I was just looking at the water meters and hydrants of 11,000. So I thought, whew, we having problems with any of this?
Yeah.
So, okay.
Yeah, I think that was for the hydrants.
Yeah, that would explain that amount.
Mhm. Yeah, and I know that we're all working together on the CIP plan. So I know that she's coming up with a rotation plan to make sure that all of these water meters and hydrants and everything are on the plan and scheduled for maintenance and repair or replacement, excuse me.
Okay, on the new meters, so if they do get damaged or anything, do they run slower or faster, or do they just stop, or what?
Now, the ones that get damaged have to be replaced.
Right.
They typically don't get damaged to where they operate slower or faster or whatever. They break.
They just
Stop
stop.
working.
They
Wow.
break while you have a leak.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
go replace it, and you replace the meter as well.
Yeah.
Some of those have been due to criminal mischief, homeowners trying to adjust. We just had a case today that our officers had to go out to investigate where we had a resident do some repairs to their home without permits and remove the meter altogether, and then wound
Oh,
up
my.
putting the meter in backwards. So we've got some property owners that try to take care of maintaining them on their own. Anytime we do find that, we issue them citations because it is a violation of law to tamper with a utility device and try to recover those costs through the court. But as you all know, that's not always foolproof.
Yeah, I've seen a few of my neighbors kind of do their little meters. Uh-oh. Okay.
I think a couple of weeks ago, if not more, where they had to replace a part or something on one of the I don't know if it was the wells or whatever, and it was like maybe 30 or 40,000. Did that get repaired?
Yes, it did.
Okay. Now, what line item would that be?
That would be under your professional services.
Oh, okay. Okay, so do we need to increase that then?
We're hoping that we're going to get to a point where that doesn't continue. Obviously, we're in the middle of replacing some water lines. We are hopefully at the point where all of our pumps in our wells and our valves have been fixed, and we should not have this problem going forward. I think this was an unusual year, and I don't really want to budget for the exceptional. If we have a problem, we will revisit at the time. But I don't want to put a $60,000 budget out there when this was an abnormal year. And
like Susan mentioned a minute ago, that's one of the projects that I'm working on with our other directors of public works like Jeff and Lisa. One of the things that we've struggled with over the years has been proper planning and being able to map out what we need to replace when. It's just kind of been a year-to-year thing. So what we've been working pretty heavily on is trying to put together an actual appropriate CIP so we can stop being hit with all of these sudden large expenditures that we've been getting hit with the last couple of years. we just put it on pause because we're right in the middle of budget and we want to make sure that we get through budget. But the hope is prior to December this year, we can actually put in front of you an actual CIP, and we'll be able to map out all these large expenditures like replacement valves and water lines and street repairs and everything included in an all package for you. So you have an idea of what we're going to do what year.
That would be good.
What is depreciation expense?
Well, as you probably know, we have a huge water infrastructure with all of our wells, our water lines, equipment, and all of those are sitting in our fixed assets, and those get depreciated on a monthly, well, we do it pretty much semi-annually, but those age over time, and that system is supposed to give us an idea of when things need to be replaced. Unfortunately, we've got a ton of infrastructure that is at zero dollar value, if you will. And those are the things that we're in the midst of trying to get replaced, like our water lines. The depreciation expense are those things that are still have book value that are depreciating.
Any other questions on the 3,200?
Capital expenditures?
Yeah, I want to address that because
Okay.
really capital expenditures in the water department is not really appropriate. And the reason I say that is the water department is an enterprise fund, which means it has all of its assets and all of its liabilities in its own fund. And so if you were to look at the balance sheet, you would see in Fund 2 that all of the asset values are posted. So when we purchase capital assets in the water department, it increases those assets. It doesn't post to an expenditure like in the general fund. So technically, all capital expenditures are posted to the balance sheet, not to the expense and income. So technically, we should remove that expenditure budget from this budget.
You're saying we should remove capital expenditures, this line item from this page?
From the water fund. So any department in the water fund should not reflect any capital expenditure item.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I'll turn page to 16. And the top section for 3201.
It's for bill print. Why are we not being charged to print bills anymore? Was that for the water bill?
No, this is another one of those cases where this particular account, you notice the account numbers 02633632201. And there are two records that have different descriptions for this account. And the one that we actually, when the actual expenses are paid and get for the invoicing for the utility billing, it creates a description of bill print. Everywhere else, anything else that goes into this account gets administrative costs as a description. So that's, you need to think of those two line items together. So the true actual is around $10,000 and the budget for that total line item is $13,003, which includes the bill print.
That's why there's not an account code for administrative costs.
Right.
Right, because they are really the same account code,
Okay.
just two different descriptions.
That's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a problem.
It's a flaw.
Yeah, when I developed this little system, I had to pull records from our actual expenses, accounts payable, from our budget system, from our various systems, and different pieces of our system has different descriptions on some of the accounts. And this is what happens when you encounter one. I thought I had most of them fixed. I missed this one.
Okay.
And then the middle section, 3,300, which is the sewer collection, there's no changes to that. And the bottom section, 5,100 is debt service, no change.
Now, keep in mind, that's the water department debt service. Not related to our bond issuance.
Okay, it says 2007 bond interest expense. How much is owed on the 2007 bond?
It's paid off. This was the final year of payment.
Okay.
What
Yeah.
you see there, that was the final
So,
payment.
okay, so do we need to remove that line item?
Yes.
'Cause-
Well, we need to remove the budget
Well-
for it.
Yes, the budget, the 2,250, we could take off.
Yeah, we need to double check and make sure that the interest expense on the long-term notes is the right number.
Okay,
Because as I recall,
yeah, well, I'll look into it.
both of those need to be adjusted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Paying agent expense. What is that?
What?
Paying agent expense.
Anytime we issue a bond, there's an agent involved.
Mm.
And when it's funded, we agree on each payment to pay X number of dollars for their services over the life of that bond.
Okay.
Typically $100, $200, or $300
Yeah.
every 6 months.
Okay. The gentleman that I think it works for Samco, I think we pay
Andrew?
him, what is it, $1,200 to $1,500 a year,
Andrew?
I
Yes.
guess. Okay,
He-
what department does that come out of?
That comes out of finance.
Oh, okay.
He is the reason we put it in finance because he helps us with bond issues or certificates of obligation, regardless of which fund it applies to.
Okay.
Okay, page 17 is the debt service fund, 4,100. And just a slight increase on the principal payment, and that's just based on the actual payments due.
Yeah, now this is the actual debt service of our 2013 bond fund,
Yes.
our 2013 bond. And these are the payments that are actually due in February and August of next year.
You know when we're gonna get that paid off?
Oh, this one has, I believe, don't get me lying. 12,
Ballpark.
13 more years. Let's see, I think it was 20 years, so 2033. So,
Okay.
so we're at 2021. So yeah, about 12 years.
Right around the corner.
Actually,
The good news-
2033 is right around the corner.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. That will be paid off in September of 2032.
Close enough to 33.
Yep. Thank you.
Yep. All right, last page. The special revenue fund, there are no changes.
This is just the TCOL state use of the state contributions. We never know from year to year. Sometimes we get $1,000, sometimes we get $2,000, but we always plan a certain amount toward PD, training, schooling, whatever. And the PD department uses those funds for that.
Doesn't look like we've used any of it this year.
Well, we normally get the payment pretty late in the year. What the state does is they collect it as a part of the tax and then they distribute those funds based on the number of police officers per agency. So that's why we never know from year to year how much we're going to get. It just depends on how many officers we have and how much the state collects.
Gotcha.
But normally we get that money pretty close to the end of the year, the budget year. And so it kind of rolls into the next year when we spend it.
Gotcha.
On capital expenditures up under EDC,
Yes.
it went down to 74,900.
Yeah, as
Yes.
you remember, we had a whole bunch of park and other expenditures that EDC helped us out with this
Right.
year.
Mhm.
And the plan next year is to spend 75 or try to get EDC to spend $75,000 on the
Memorial Park.
memorial park. And that's what that number's for.
Okay, under streets improvements, capital expenditures, it went up to 157,000.
Yeah, that's part of the CIP. They discussed laying out a long-term plan on street replacements. And as you know, when we finish up with the final street out of the 2013 bond fund experience, we're going to have to rely on our street improvement tax to pay for any street replacements. So
When are we going to make out another list for street repairs?
well, I think they've already done that. They have not shared it with you, but I think in the CIP process, they will.
Yes. Yeah, that's part of the plan. So once we get the CIP in front of you to approve and adopt, essentially, it'll have the streets that we're expecting to replace and when we're expecting to replace them. One of the things that I've asked Jeff to do is to come up not just with a street replacement, but a street maintenance plan. And he's come up with a phenomenal plan on how much he's going to have to spend every few years on certain streets just to do like crack fill and that kind of stuff, so we can incorporate that into the plan as well. But now that we've used all the 2013 bond fund money, we're going to need to start using that street improvement tax money to make that happen.
Yes, well, we'll finish up those funds this coming year
Yes.
in the 2013. And once those are used up completely, then we'll start putting the expenditures to the street improvement tax line.
Yeah, I think that final project on the 2013 bond fund is being held up by a sewer project that we don't want to rebuild the street and have them tear up the street in the sewer
Yes.
project. So, and all that's, it's really separate from any future street maintenance or street repairs we're going to do. And we don't have to wait on that to be completed to pursue any other necessary changes or improvements.
Yeah. So those were the only changes that I had, with the exception of a couple of these that I've made note on, and we'll get those updated as well.
Need to cover crime control.
I'm sorry?
You didn't cover crime control. You
The
have a-
capital expenditures, 65, what is that?
Okay, I think Susan mentioned to you that we're in the
Yes.
process of revising our accounting strategies with the help of our auditors.
Okay.
And originally, the equipment lease payment and the capital expenditures were put in this fund because we agreed to fund all of the police or the emergency services vehicles out of crime control. And as you see, we have no year to date on that, but we will have before year end.
Yes.
Okay, you say emergency services?
Yeah, the fire and PD. Primarily PD,
Yeah. The
That's where-
blue line.
yeah.
And the reason why it's broken up that way is because we have a certain portion that is dedicated towards the lease payment of the vehicle itself. And then the equipment that goes inside of the police vehicles is actually capital expenditures. Those are items that we purchase to be a part of that vehicle. Now, the equipment that goes inside the vehicles is designed to roll from vehicle to vehicle. So we would anticipate once we get all of our police vehicles replaced in the enterprise fleet program, that capital expenditure number will drop, and we'll start to regulate out on our equipment, on our vehicle lease payments every year.
Okay, it looks like our budget has gone up $1,851,000.
No. It's gone up 1%.
Oh, I'm looking at the net amount.
Yeah,
So-
it's
Going up
net amount is your
$44,000.
actual column. That's year to date.
Yeah, I've scared myself.
Yeah.
I know.
So we're,
Ah! Okay, never mind. Whew, let me erase that. That's why
And-
it's a pencil.
and the last fund on here is the 2013 bond fund. Again, it's got just under $60,000. That's about what it's going to cost us on that final road rebuild. And when we get it done, that's when we'll spend the money out of there. There's
Yep.
no other activity in that particular fund.
Right.
Okay, cool.
Anything else?
Okay, Mindy, do we have any citizens' comments?
No, we don't.
Okay, well, that being said, we will go ahead and adjourn the meeting. Okay.
Have a good evening.
Night,
Have a good night.
I
We'll have packets ready for next week.